Welcome to Wisdom Trek with Gramps. I am Guthrie Chamberlain, and we are on day 2410 of our trek. The purpose of Wisdom Trek is to create a legacy of wisdom, to seek out discernment and insights, and to boldly grow where few have chosen to grow before. In today's Wisdom Nugget, I'll guide you through the vast landscapes of biblical wisdom. Today we're delving into Psalm chapter 5, verses 7 through 12 from the New Living Translation. In this part of Psalm, David continues his prayer, focusing on God's steadfast love, guidance, protection, and justice. Let's walk through these verses together and uncover the rich insights that they offer. Psalm chapter 5, verses 7 through 12. Because of your unfailing love, I can enter your house. I will worship at your temple with deepest awe. Lead me on the right path, O Lord, or my enemies will conquer me. Make the way plain for me to follow. My enemies cannot speak a truthful word. Their deepest desire is to destroy others. Their talk is foul, like the stench from an open grave. Their tongues are filled with flattery. O God, declare them guilty. Let them be caught in their own traps. Drive them away because of their many sins, for they have rebelled against you. But let all who take refuge in you rejoice. Let them sing joyful praises forever. Spread your protection over them, that all who love your name may be filled with joy. For you bless the godly, O Lord. You surround them with your shield and love. David begins this segment of Psalms with a profound acknowledgement of God's unfailing love. Because of your unfailing love, I can enter your house. I will worship at your temple with deepest awe. Verse 7. This verse highlights David's awareness that it is only through God's steadfast love that we can come into his presence and worship. David's response to God's love is one of reverence and awe. Worship, for David, is not a casual act, but one filled with deep respect and amazement at God's goodness and grace. This teaches us that our worship should stem from understanding God's unfailing love for us. Recognizing His grace and mercy should fill us with awe and gratitude, prompting us to approach Him with our heart full of reverence. In our own lives, it's important to remember that worship is a response to God's love. When we gather to worship, whether in a church setting or in personal devotions, we should do so with a heart that is deeply aware of His love and grace. This awareness transforms our worship from the routine activities into profound encounters with the divine. David continues in verse 8 with a plea for guidance. Lead me in your right path, O Lord, or my enemies will conquer me. Make your way plain for me to follow. This request underscores David's dependence on God for direction and protection. He acknowledges the presence of his enemies and recognizing that without God's guidance, he is vulnerable to their attacks. This verse highlights the importance of seeking God's guidance in our daily lives. Just as David needed God's direction to navigate through the threats that he faced, we too need God's wisdom to navigate the challenges and decisions that we encounter. Asking God to lead us on the right path and to make His way plain for us is a powerful prayer demonstrating our trust in His sovereignty and wisdom. For us, seeking God's guidance means regularly turning to Him in prayer, studying His Word, and being attentive to His prompting of the Holy Spirit. It's about inviting God to direct our steps and trusting His path that is best for us, even when we don't fully understand where it will lead us. In verses 9 and 10, David describes the nature of his enemies and calls for God's justice. Enemies cannot speak a truthful word. Their deepest desire is to destroy others. Their talk is foul, like the stench from an open grave. Their tongues are filled with flattery. O God, declare them guilty. Let them be caught in their own traps. Drive them away because of their many sins, for they have rebelled against you. David paints a vivid picture of his enemies' deceitful and destructive nature. Their words are filled with lies and flattery, aimed at causing harm and leading others astray. This description highlights the destructive power of their deceitful speech and the harm that they can cause. David's plea for God to declare his enemies guilty and to let them be caught in their own trap reflects his desire for divine justice. He recognizes that his enemies are not just opposing him, but they are rebelling against God. This calls for God's intervention and judgment. These verses remind us of the destructive nature of deceit and the importance of truthfulness. They also encourages us to trust God's justice when we face opposition or deceit from others. Instead of seeking revenge, we can bring our concerns to God, trusting Him to deal with those who act unjustly. Now David shifts his focus in verses 11 and 12 to those who take refuge in God. But all who take refuge in you rejoice. Let them sing joyful praises forever. Spread your protection over them, that all who love your name may be filled with joy. For you bless the godly, O Lord. You surround them with your shield of love. These verses are a beautiful declaration of joy and protection that comes from taking refuge in God. David calls for those who seek shelter in God to rejoice and sing joyful praises forever. This joy stems from the assurance of God's protection and the blessing that comes from His loving name. The imagery of God spreading His protection over His people and surrounding them with His shield of love is deeply comforting. It assures us that when we seek refuge in God, we are protected and blessed with His love and joy. This means that in times of trouble or uncertainties, we can find joy and security in God's presence. Taking refuge in Him involves trusting in His protection and resting in His love. It also means rejoicing and praising Him for His faithfulness and goodness. As we reflect on Psalm chapter 5, verses 7 through 12, several key lessons emerge that we can apply to our own lives. First, worship with reverence. Recognizing God's unfailing love and approach Him with a heart full of reverence and awe. Let your worship be a profound response to His grace and goodness. Second, seek God's guidance. Regularly turn to God in prayer, seeking His direction for your life. Trust that His path is best for you, even when it is unclear where it will lead. Third, trust in God's justice. When faced with deceit and opposition, bring your concerns to God and trust in His justice. Avoid seeking revenge and rely on God to deal with those who act unjustly. And fourth, rejoicing in God's refuge. Find joy and security in God's presence, especially in times of trouble. Trust in His protection and love, and let your heart be filled with praise and faithfulness. Applying these lessons in our daily lives can transform our relationship with God and others. Worshipping with reverence deepens our connection with God and reminds us of His unfailing love. Seeking His guidance helps us to navigate life's challenges with wisdom and trust in His sovereignty. Trusting in God's justice frees us from the burden of seeking revenge and allows us to rest in His righteous judgment. Rejoicing in God's refuge fills our hearts with joy and peace, even under challenging circumstances, as we trust in His protection and love. As we conclude our exploration of Psalm chapter 5, verses 7 through 12, let's carry these lessons with us on our journey. Worship reverently and seek God's guidance. Trust in His justice and rejoice in His refuge. By doing so, we align ourselves with Psalm's timeless wisdom and navigate life's complexities with faith and assurance. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Wisdom Trek. May these insights in Psalm chapter 5 inspire and strengthen you to continue on your trek through life. Until the next time, keep seeking God's wisdom, cherish each moment, and continue making a positive impact on the world around you. And if you found this podcast insightful, please subscribe and leave us a review. Then encourage your friends and family to join us and come along with us tomorrow for another day of Wisdom Trek, creating a legacy. And thank you so much for allowing me to be your guide, your mentor, and most importantly, I am your friend as I serve you through the Wisdom Trek podcast and journal. As we take this trek of life together, let us always live abundantly, love unconditionally, listen intentionally, learn continuously, lend to others generously, lead with integrity, and leave a living legacy each day. I am Guthrie Chamberlain, reminding you to keep moving forward, enjoy your journey, and create a great day every day. See you next time for more daily wisdom.